Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining this talk about privacy and the GDPR. I really thought that no one cares about privacy, but perhaps it's not like that because you are so much people, and I'm so glad to present this to you. So, who I am? My name is Evan. I have a physics degree, and I work in the cloud startups since the beginning. So I started in the big Italian company like Telecom Italia and Telespazio, and then I did some work as a computational linguistic expert at Translated, where I elaborated a theory for the automatic translation that definitely was wrong, but but Google were interested to this, and for this reason the company gained the contact with Google. And then I started my work in a cloud storage in Europe. And after all, I am a passionate husband and traveler that it's important in life. Well, the cloud storage I have done is one of the biggest in Europe, and it's simply a software that backups data from the user's device to a cloud archive. And this experience brought me all over the world. I talked with government in Asia, in Kazakhstan, with Google, with the product manager of the Chromebook project, and in Istanbul, and I did a lot of talk about cybersecurity for this reason. I would like to share with you some experience related to the behavior of the privacy concept in the last 10 years. For example, what happened in Turkey. In 2009, we got the contract with a telco in Turkey. They wanted our software to back up data from the Turkish people. And we keep this contract after 2014, where this company asked to us to build a data center for them in Istanbul, because they wanted the data of the Turkish people into their country. Then, in 2015, all telco companies were nationalized, and then we all realized that we have lost the contract with the Turkey, but not. It was not. In 2016, there was the Gulf. We saw at the television the tank in Istanbul near the office, and the army into the office of the telco, and then we again think that we have lost the contract, but not. Government take care of data. So we are still there in Turkey. So let's think about what the people is scared. You remember this very, very old movie when the man changed his face to become another one? Well, this movie, it was a science fiction movie of 13 years ago, but now this with computer is extremely easy to steal the identity of someone, to bring money, family, friends, and anything. And we have to care about this kind of crimes also because this happen very, very often. I just would like to remind you something that is very sad that happened here. This girl were killed from her boyfriend. This boyfriend was following her with a mobile app. Well, the trouble is that she were not notified that someone was following her, and she is killed. We, as a developer, we have a bit responsibility for this, because now privacy is our problem if we want this never happen again. And we all think that we are watched, so this is a trouble for us. This is a trouble when we want to talk to people. But think about Facebook, what is happening now. And I would like, you are all Italian, I think, or most of all, and you remember when Berlusconi comes to the government. Well, we all were scared from the fact that he has the television and now he's in politics. But what we think a normal world, what we did is go to the government and make a law that to make a regulation on the time spent on television. Now, on Facebook, there is the same problem. Time spent on social networks, but the people didn't ask it to the solution to the government. They asked the solution to this guy, to the CEO of a company. So we are claimed to solve and fix these problems. So for this reason, it's very important that we are all here today. And to help us, there is the law today. Think about some of you are very young, but some years ago, the safety belt became in law. So we need to use the safety belt. Before, no one used the safety belt. And also, the communication of the cars, this is 60 years ago, this is last year. We are doing the same path. In the next years, we will sail informatics and application just because they are safe. So let's talk about the GDPR. The GDPR is a European regulation. This means that it's actually a law, and we all have to respect it. This law is applied to all EU citizens, independently from where the data is stored or where the data is processed, and also where the company is. If your company is in the US, but you are working with EU people, you should respect this law. Then, this is a very important change, because personal data means any information that make a person identifiable. Okay, so name, surname, photo, name, surname, company, this is a personal data. And then the third fact is that you have to prove that you are compliant to the law. There is no certification, there is anything. The law encourages you to take a certification, but the proof is from you. You have to be able to demonstrate that processing is performed in accordance with this regulation. So these three facts change the stuff. So the personal data shall be, this is the text of the law. Okay, so we shall process the data lawfully, collected for specified, explicit, legitimate purpose, adequate and relevant. I would really like that this form will be read from the government and change the law for making the invoice, because we have to collect a huge stuff of adequate, relevant, and limited what is necessary, a huge stuff. We have to simplify our forms and take only the necessary data and process it for no longer that is necessary. So when we have data from users, now this data do not belong to us, are of the users and have an expiration date. And we have to say this. And we have also be able to prove that we have made everything for keep this data secure. Okay, the explicit consent, I know it's a mess for everyone. Think about the cookie law. No one really understood why on a website I see the Amazon advertising of the anything I saw just a minute before. For this reason, we have to accept cookie law in every website for all our life. Well, this is going to be regulated again in a better way. So, what does it mean, explicit consent now in the GDPR? If I'm asking data that is required from the law, I do not need any explicit content. So if I have to make an invoice to you and you are giving me the invoice data, I do not need an explicit content. But if I am using this data in other ways, or I am asking to you more than data required from the law, I need to ask you the consent. And the consent can be oral, person by person, written. But in any case, I have to prove that I have asked to you the consent, and you have given to me this consent that is clearly distinguishable from the other, and the user have the right to withdraw. And the provision of a service is conditional on the consent. This means that it should be free and not related necessary with the service that you are giving to the user. So I hope in the future not to see anymore this accept this privacy statement to see my website. So how? We have not to give the users all the privacy stuff. We have just need to do our work with all the best practice because we know already everything. Because the accountability is something that we already know. The expiration of any kind of data is something that we need to do. There is no more mess in databases and data or data lost just because I forgot them. I need to have a process that delete them, this data. Also, I have to give to the user the contacts of someone that is responsible for this data, and there is someone who should watch him that is doing the right thing. And also, I have to inform the users in any way that I'm doing this. So the website is a good way, but also the phone. If I have a phone number, the people reply to me, well, in this case, I can prove that the people listen to my privacy policy just a bit on the phone. This is something that I can prove. And I would like to introduce a case that is very interesting. This is the federation in CONI in Italy called me for asking me something about something that happened to them. They have something like a justice, and they made a process to to a member of this federation. And this member were processed and was guilty, and he was excluded from the federation. Well, the law said that this sentence should be published, and they published the sentence on the website. This guy called the authority and said that for the right to be forgotten, I want that sentence not to be published. Okay, so apparently this is a contradiction. But what they did, they keep the sentence on the website, but they removed personal data of these users. Well, this is the wrong solution, because we have to think about transparency. What we think that they can do with our data. So the right choice was the sentence is public, so anyone can access. Does not mean that anyone should access. So the sentence should be public inside a place where I can know who is accessing that sentence. This is the right to be forgotten in the respect of the law. This lesson should be learned to the Google guys in the search. The fact that a website keeps my data doesn't mean that this data should be on the Google search. I can really ask for remove data from the Google database. This is the right to be forgotten independently from what the other do, because I have to know who is accessing any information that reminds to me. This is very important. And when you meet someone that talks to you about privacy and GDPR, they always use the ISO terminology and the ISO framework. I think some of you have already learned about the framework of risk identification, assessment, the ownership and responsibilities, and risk control and mitigation. I don't want to go in deep with the ISO standard. I just would like to say that there are some certification related to the cloud that is not required from the GDPR, but it's encouraged. You can follow this step without taking the certification because a good path, but it's not a necessary path. And another stuff in the GDPR, a lot of people said that to be compliant to the GDPR, you have to encrypt anything. But this is not true again. I would like to see anyone working on a crypto database. It's impossible, no? So obviously this is not true. Also, pseudonymization is a good practice for keeping data, and we will see in deep how we have implemented this technology in our cloud storage. Because think about that in Europe, having a public cloud storage means that we have a lot of privacy problems. So this is my experience of the last 10 years of my work. We have a cloud storage with 1.5 million users, 2 data centers, 100,000 of instances per day, and 600 servers, and a big database. And in this job, we do this architecture. So this is the structure of our servers, and this is the data inside, and the path to pseudonymization that we have implemented. So we have the front-end servers where the users come with username and password. Then we have a single sign-on steps to check the password. Then you access to the account data. This means that the data I need to build you. And this pseudonymize the users. With this, we have a layer of a virtual file system where the user where we cannot go to the identity of the user, but we have anonymized metadata, well, the name of the files. From this, we have another layer of database with metadata and hashing file. And then there is the physical storage where only the data center people can access. And this is the separation of duties. Every people, different people can do different job and different stuff. And I would like to say that I'm so proud that some of these people are still there. So I'm so happy to see you here, guys. Thank you. So the user knows the username and password in clear. The password hash is only from the backend developer. This step is from the financial administration that really should access the data, but not outside this. And also we have the anonymized metadata from the support level 1 people. And then the hashing and the storage, 2 different people. So if you want to come in our company and steal the data of the user, I can prove that you need 3 of us. And we are all trained not to talk each other of this kind of stuff, for sure. So on top of this, we became a zero knowledge storage. This means that I can mathematically prove that we cannot access in any way to the data, just because we implement private public encryption. And this is a way where you can use this part in your application when you have to store file to be sure that no one can access. But what is the difference from a law point of view between this and this? Well, there is in the GDPR, in the law, there is only one difference. If someone stole my backup and this backup are in clear or pseudonymized, I have to alert authority and user. If the storage is encrypted, I have not to alert anyone. So this is a very important difference. If you are storing data somewhere that you may not respect all the security steps, encrypt this data and you will have never ever problem. So the way to encrypt a big cloud storage is to give a user a public private keys. Then, with this key, you encrypt a symmetric key, and this symmetric key will encrypt the file. And to store encrypted symmetric key and encrypted files together. In this way, with one key, you have all different keys on all files, and you will keep all data safe, and you will respect the accountability of the data, because every user has its own key. These steps are very important to implement, to respect transparency, accountability, and encryption. This will make you never have ever talk with the authority. And last step is this one. So the principle of transparency in data. This is something when we make apps, we really changed our shape. But in privacy design, what does it mean before and after? Before is when I ask your data to you. Then there is in the middle treatment that is what we saw now. Okay, this is in the middle. The after step is what happens if someone steals my data. So, consider you come in the office in the morning and on Twitter you find your personal data or public data from your office on Twitter, forums, social network. The first reaction, it's a mess. So people got really crazy. You see your boss that walks and asks for doing something, and you, as a developer, are called to do something. Well, outside this situation, when I come to you and I ask, please, do an analysis on the security of your office, of your servers and all applications, and please check the security point that can have a breach and analyze who is accessing this. How many time you will take for doing this? How many time? Do you need for 3? 3 days. Very good. Sure, 3 days it's enough. I say in my work, 3 weeks. No, 3 weeks. I need to understand everything. Okay, check every point, analyze logs, see what is going on. Okay, that morning in that office with my boss that see his data on Twitter and it's at the phone with customer inventing anything, in that case, really anything, you have 20 minutes to say something. Okay, what do you do in that case? Well, my suggestion is use the force. Well, the lesson I learned in this job is that you have, in this situation, you have to say something. People are waiting for your reply, and you have 20 minutes for doing a 2 weeks job. And maybe you will give the wrong answer. But accept this. Be comfortable that you are giving the wrong answer, perhaps the wrong answers, but in that moment it's the right answer because it's what you are claimed to do. So do an heuristic work on logs, on data, on any kind of stuff. Trust yourself and try to minimize the risk and what is happening. Keep calm and really do as best as you can in this situation because to the data belongs the security of the users. And with this, I thank you so much for attention. And if there is any question, please, you're welcome. Thank you.